Hello, this is Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. My co-host, Bill Morton, president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, still cannot join us today. He is still recuperating from his injury. I am Trudy Leong, administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. My very special guest today is Mark Dobrzycki, and he is a journalist, and he's also a community activist, and he is very deep in the culture of Poland. How are you today, Mark?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful introduction.
Thank you. And I pronounced your name okay?
You did perfect. You did wonderful, yes.
Well, first of all, Mark, did you apply all the culture that you learned about Poland from your Polish school, and then also what your parents told you to your work?
Well, I'm born and bred in Chicago. Went to Chicago schools, Catholic Grammar School, Catholic High School, Weber High School. For fans of Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K went to my high school. A few years before me, though. Northwestern University was the farthest I went away, I should say, for my degree. And at Loyola University, I got my master's degree.
In what?
MBA in marketing. And at Northwestern, I got a degree in sociology and economics. So, which helped me a little bit here and there. I was more involved with the newspaper. I didn't go to the journalism school, but I was involved with the Daily Northwestern. And that was very fortunate for me because I spent almost 4 years, 3.5 years working on the student newspaper. In my first job, I was hired by the Associated Press as an editor.
Wow. Do the journalism students, they might not get hired by Associated Press, but you did. So how did you get the job?
How did I get that job? That was kind of fortune and misfortune. I unfortunately didn't live on campus, and Northwestern is a school that the majority of students live on campus or near campus. I lived at home, and I commuted to school. I had a car. My senior year at the Daily Northwestern, I was asked to be the photo editor. And we, at that time, subscribed. There was wire service, a paper newsletter that came from the Associated Press. And every once in a while, they said, hey, we would like to run a story with that. We subscribed to the word service, but not to the picture service. So when we needed a picture, they say, Mark, you have a car. Why don't you drive downtown to the Associated Press office and pick up the photo? And I did that several times, many times. And on one of those trips, the head of the bureau said, hey, we have a position coming available. How about, would you be interested? And I said, when do I start?
Okay, of course. But did you train to be a photographer?
I taught myself. Photography, that's another part of my life. Since I was a small boy, my father gave me a camera to make pictures. And I remember, maybe some people might remember, maybe not, but there was a time when you opened a bank account and the bank would give you a gift. And so on one of my first passbook savings account, I made a deposit. And Pioneer Bank, I grew up in a neighborhood called Hermosa. I made a deposit, and the bank, as a gift, gave a camera.
Wow.
And that was my first camera ever that I had. And I started making pictures. I still do. Yes, I do. I don't use it, but I have it. But that's how I started. I started making photographs. And
what kind of film was it? 110 or something like that?
It was a Kodak Hawkeye 110 camera. 110. It was a little cartridge that put in. So it was small and compact, almost like a modern mobile phone. But the pictures weren't as good.
Of course. Definitely. Oh, okay. And then how did the AP know that you're up to the task?
Well, because I went there many times, and sometimes they asked me if I'd be interested in shooting some assignments, what's called a stringer or a freelancer. And I did that, and I got to know the staff. They saw the publication that we put out. They saw the Daily Northwestern, which was a student-produced newspaper, edited and written by students at Northwestern Monday through Friday. And not only did it talk about the Northwestern campus, but it was kind of the newspaper for Evanston and the North Shore, because we covered many stories that were concerning the school as well as the city around the school.
Of course, everything around there affects the students. That's
Yes,
why.
yeah.
And it's still kind of like that now as well.
Correct, yeah.
Any memorable stories that might have led to that position, do you think?
Well, I think there were so many stories. I think back of the first football game that I shot, that I photographed for the newspaper. I went to a Catholic high school, and our football team was always very good. They'd always make it into the playoffs. Then I went to Northwestern, and at the time when I was at Northwestern, they didn't have a very good football team, and. Let's say it was kind of interesting to see how the fans at Northwestern reacted. When we lost a football game by less than 21 points, we considered it a victory. And you mentioned a picture photographing the students rushing the field at Dyke Stadium, tearing down the field goal post, and then carrying it all the way to Lake Michigan, which was at least almost 2 miles, mile and a half, and dumping it into the lake. So
after at the end of the season, or
no, at the end of a game that they won. Not every game, no.
Why was that? What's the significance of that?
Because we won so few games. They went. The celebration got very frenzied. It got very colorful and very involved. So students really celebrated when our football team won back then.
Wow. And I guess you took some interesting photographs during
Yes. Yes. Also, the number of people that came through Northwestern, I photographed governors and presidents and senators. It was quite an interesting time in my life, and it was really great growing and working with journalists. One of the journalists I worked with, a photographer who's an expert sports photographer, Joel Lerner, continues to do photographs on the North Shore. Jonathan Eig was on the staff, and we worked together on the newspaper. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner. He received the Pulitzer for his book on Muhammad Ali. And he's written several biographies, and those are all people I worked with.
Okay, so when I guess the Associated Press was keeping an eye on the work that the Daily Northwestern was doing, and they saw your work.
Yes, yeah, and many of the people I worked with at the paper, at the Daily, we call it, proceeded on to big careers in journalism.
Such as like
as I mentioned, Jonathan Eig, people who have worked for the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Times, the Washington Post. So these people their careers have flourished and grown. Unfortunately, journalism is undergoing a very hard time right now. It's not a career that was what it once was. But I truly believe that, and you give me this platform right now, that the people I worked with, the journalists at the paper, they were true to their word. They reported information and facts. They didn't color it with opinions. So it would be difficult to realize or know what a person's personal opinions were based on what they reported and how they acted as a professional journalist. So when I hear comments about journalists being biased and so forth, I didn't see that working on the Daily Northwestern. I know people who were conservative. I know people who are liberal, and in the good sense of the word, but when you read what they reported on, you would not know what their meanings were. Yeah.
So was that the work of the editor? Did the editor steer steer the staff toward that, or what was the culture like? How did it become that way?
We worked like a family. The reporters, if they had ideas for stories, they would tell the assignment editors. There are various editors. There's campus editor, there was a city editor, sports editor, photography editor. Each editor had their role. At the same time, the journalists, the writers, the reporters had their role too. So if they had a story that would be of interest, they would let the editor know. At the same time, editors would meet daily, what we'd call a budget meeting. And at the budget meeting, we'd discuss events that were going on that day, and we'd decide what we should cover. We have limited resources. It's not unlimited. And we had only so many reporters and so many photographers. We have to make choices. We tried to cover what we thought was most important at that moment in time.
What about the faculty advisor? Was the faculty advisor instrumental in creating that culture of non-bias?
Well, no, there was no faculty advisor. Once again, Medill is the school of the journalism school at Northwestern.
Right.
I attended the College of Arts and Sciences, which is now known as the Weinberg School of Arts and Sciences, and the Daily Northwestern is controlled by a business called the Student Publishing Company, which is a subset of Northwestern University. We're independent of the school.
Oh.
But Student Publishing Company also published the syllabus yearbook as well as the daily paper.
What about, it was independent of the school, but was there ever any friction that you know of between the school and the Student Publishing Company?
Yes, I think most people probably realize Pat Fitzgerald, who was the football coach at Northwestern for many years, and the school and the newspaper reported about some of the activities of the football teams. Some of the football players there were hazed and so forth, and Pat Fitzgerald, that was because of a story at the Daily Northwestern. So you would think a newspaper for Northwestern would be writing only good things about the football team, but at the same time, you have to realize they have their responsibilities and obligation as journalists to report information, report the facts. And so, what had happened, they had learned about, and they wrote an article about, which ultimately led to the firing of Pat Fitzgerald as the coach.
Do you know if there was any heat from the administration on the paper and on the Student Publishing Company?
Well, that was a few years after I had already left school, but okay. I would suppose that there probably was. And even when I was on, there were stories written about the administration, about various things that had happened at the school, sometimes good, sometimes bad, and the student journalists would question, why did it happen? What was the cause? What was the solution? How was it taken care of?
Well, what was the culture like at the Associated Press? How different was it?
Well, once again, I see those people as total professionals. I learned from them. I started actually with a paid internship, and the paid internship turned into a full-time job.
So when they said that the position was open, it was that paid internship?
Correct. Correct. And I made lifetime friends. I keep in touch with many of those people. I learned from them. I learned how to be a better editor. I learned how to look at photographs. Back then, you had film, and you had to process the film, and you had negatives to look at, which is the reverse of image that you see. And you had to realize what you were looking at.
Mirror image, right?
A mirror image, what was dark was white, what was white was dark.
Oh.
And so everything was opposite of what you saw. And in color, you also had shades of colors on the negatives. So you're trying to figure out what it's going to look like when you actually have the picture in front of you. The responsibility of a journalist as an editor I remember writing captions, making sure you had the name spelled correctly, you had the places and locations correct, you had the information correct. If it was a sporting game like the Cubs or White Sox, which I loved looking through the negatives and checking out, making sure you had the correct score, the correct player, the correct team, make sure that was spelled correctly, the information that was put out was correct. Sometimes we would make mistakes, and those times when we made mistake, we sent out a correction. We let people know that the information that we provided was incorrect, and we provided the correct information. So it was a wonderful time to learn. There was a period of time where I worked overnight shift. The Associated Press never closed.
Yes.
It's a mutual organization, so all the newspapers that subscribe to it are also part owners in it. So when we have people from let's say the San Francisco Giants came in to play a baseball game. Instead of the San Francisco newspaper sending their photographers in, they would ask, hey, can we have one of your photographers photograph the game for us for our use for our paper? Those times were just truly magical because you made so many friends. You spoke to them over the phone, over our network, which was specific for sending information and photographs. So Chicago, the Midwest Bureau of Chicago, handled, I think, upwards of 28 states, from on the east in Ohio, down to Texas in the south, to like Wyoming in the west, to Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan on the north. So those were all part of the Chicago Midwest Bureau. There was the AP main office, which was located in New York City, and the AP regional office, which took care of the states on the East Coast. And then on the West Coast, it was the Los Angeles office, which took care of the states on the West Coast. So I made many friends that I spoke to that I still haven't met to this day. But just working on the network, speaking with people, you really got to know them. And as I said, I worked overnight shift. I worked from 11:30 at night to 7:30 in the morning.
What was that like? Any memorable stories?
Those were pretty slow times. So, but we always had to pay attention. I just remember when the holidays came, it was kind of sad that you'd have to be at work. So.
What did you get? Time and a half on the holidays?
Double time.
Double time. Wow, that's even better. Okay, well, so I would imagine that if it's kind of slow, but if anything were to happen, it would be pretty special.
Yeah, well, you have to be there to make sure it happens. You know, as I said, I was hired as an editor, and my instinct, my want was to be out on the street. So on those time when I was off, I'd go photograph events. I had firsthand knowledge of what was happening in the city. One of the most memorable photographs I made was of Mother Teresa on her second visit to Chicago. That was in June of 1986, and that photograph that I made, one of the photographs was used on the AP wire, and then the photograph that was rejected that I kept, that I thought was even a better photograph, was actually accepted into the permanent collection at the George Eastman Museum of Photography in Rochester, New York.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Did you submit it or did they ask for it?
I actually met Vice President of the Kodak Company, and he really liked the photograph, and he asked me to send it to him, and he submitted it to the museum. Wow. George Eastman is the man who founded Kodak.
Did he invent the camera and the film?
He invented the film and the processing, and cameras were invented by other folks.
Oh,
but
okay.
Ray DeMullen was the vice president of Kodak, and I had a chance and opportunity to meet him, and I showed him the photograph, and he's the one who requested the photograph. So, and I got to meet Mother Teresa, speak with her, and my friend Al Podgorski, who was a photographer for the Chicago Sun-Times, made a photograph of me shaking the hand of Mother Teresa and speaking to her.
She was very petite?
Yes, she was very small. I'm not a very big man. I'm like 5'9", and I seem to tower over her. So that was in Pilsen, the neighborhood, St. Procopius, the church. And that mission of Mother Teresa's, those nuns, those sisters are still at St. Procopius.
Oh,
Yeah. So it was a wonderful time. My senior year in high school, Pope John Paul II came to Chicago, and I got to photograph him.
Did you speak with him in Polish at any time?
No, I did not have that opportunity. There was a mass at Five Holy Martyrs in Brighton Park, 43rd in Richmond, I believe. And I got a ticket, and I also got a press pass because I was editor of the yearbook. So I got to go down there, and I got very close to the front, close to the altar, and Pope John Paul II came in to say the Mass, to celebrate the Mass. And I'm going, do I try to reach out and touch him, or do I make a photograph? I decided to make the photograph.
Yes.
But I did get to meet him. I did get to meet and speak to him, and in fact even joke with him and sing some songs with him. In 1993, I was studying in Rome, and the professor and I was attending the class with said, one day we're going to take off from classes and we're going to go to the Pope. And I'm thinking, well, we're going to go to a Mass, we're going to go to St. Peter's. Well, actually, we had a private audience with the Pope.
Wow.
And the Pope, as I said, I got to speak with him. He even placed his hand on my head and blessed me. So I had the very good fortune of meeting two people who are now saints. So that was quite an event.
Any connection between the two of them that you feel like made them saint material?
It's just amazing when you meet people who I feel very humble, that they were able to change so much in the world. People who made such a difference to so many people in a good way. It was just incredible to meet that person. A great thing, Mother Teresa was just a few minutes of speaking, but with the Pope, we ended up, Pope John Paul II, we ended up spending over an hour with him. And I felt, I'm Catholic, I'm Roman Catholic. I felt he was like the neighborhood priest. I felt like he was the priest at my school. He opened up and he asked, "What did you think of school? How are you doing? Do you enjoy it?" It seemed like you could open up a conversation with him, and he really cared. He looked in your eyes and he spoke to you. He spoke to you not as just a person passing, but a person who he cared about.
Did you ask him any question that you felt that you got a very special answer?
You know what? It was in talking with him, I discovered that he was a real person. A person who cared, a person who paid attention. I've met many people along the way who are famous people, well-known people who are different than the average person. And some of those people seem just like you and I talking right now, that they can connect with you. They have, they dismiss their wealth, they dismiss their notoriety. They seem just like you and I.
They don't carry ears.
Well, I could tell you here, this was one. I had no idea who this person was. I was doing some commercial photography for a number of years, and one of my clients was the Rosemont Horizon, now known as the Allstate Arena. And I was hired to photograph an award and a jacket to be given to Garth Brooks. The woman I was with from the public relations agency was a big fan of his. And as we were waiting for him to come into the dressing room, she goes, "Mark, do you think it'd be okay if I ask for a picture with him?" And as she said that, he came in and heard her. And he said, "Come over here, of course. Here, make a picture of the two of us." And so I made the photograph, and he goes, "Hey," to me, he goes, "Would you like a picture too?" And I wasn't a big country music fan at the time. I didn't know who he really was. I said, "Oh, sure." And he gives the camera to one of his managers there, and he makes a photograph. And I have a picture with Garth Brooks. And I didn't really realize how famous and how big he was, but he was just like, "Come on." And then after the photograph, he goes, "I'm about to have lunch, and I don't like to eat alone." He goes, "How would you like to join me?"
That's so
And we had lunch with Garth Brooks. I thought the woman from the public relations agency was going to pass out. She was just like overwhelmed, and she was a big fan of his. But we sat there and we talked. We talked about the weather. We talked about family. We talked about the music that we liked. And afterwards, the concert started, and he said, "Hey, stay for the concert." And so I stayed for the concert, and he put on a wonderful show. I recognized some of the songs that were popular back then, and he ended the show, an encore. I believe he played like for a half an hour after his show ended, and he played a bunch of rock and roll cover songs. The last song he played, one of the groups I liked when I was in high school, I have to admit, was Kiss, and there was a song called "Rock and Roll Over," and he played that song to close the show. I never saw Kiss perform it live, but I saw him perform that song, and I thought it was like the greatest thing ever. So I became an instant fan of his.
Yes. So afterwards, now you
Yes.
became a Garth Brooks fan.
Yes.
If our viewers want to learn more about you, Mark Dobrzycki, where should they go?
Well, the best way is probably contact your program here, and I could get in touch with them. You could Google my name, and you could probably find a few other things I've done in my life. I've held public office. I was elected as a trustee in the town that I live in, Harwood Heights. 12 years. I served for the Department of State. I worked for the State Department, an agency called U.S. Information Agency.
Yeah, with all your contacts, I guess. Yes.
So there's a number of things that I've done in my life. I ran a legal clinic for 15 years.
Like free legal clinic?
Pro bono legal clinic. And
Maybe you could give the information out about that, so in case our viewers...
I don't do that anymore. I currently
okay.
work for the Office of Chief Judge of the Circuit Court of Cook County in a very special program called Restorative Justice.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working there now almost 5 years. And it's a wonderful program. I think it has helped so many people change their lives, become better citizens.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Mark Dobrzycki, for joining us on Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. From Bill Morton and me, Trudy Leong, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again.